You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, it's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile we put Ghana first. And let me begin with Emmanuel Kofi-Boah, the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, who is delivering the charge on the President's promise, or the NDC's promise, to fight galamsey. Thank you very much for making time to join us. Great.
Joy Studio Newsfile.
Right. So let's start straight away. Pledge 19 of President Mohammed's 120-day promise is this. He says, ban illegal and new mining activities in forest reserves, roll out our Tree for Life and Blue Water Initiative to heal and sustainably harness the environment by turning areas and water bodies degraded by illegal mining into economic and ecological recovery hubs. How far so far?
Well, we're not even 90 days yet. I can boldly say that we made a lot of progress on this promise. And so we really committing and making sure that this promise is fulfilled. I think you already know that we laid the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology taking the charge and laid this LI before Parliament. And within 21 days, God willing, it becomes law. That clearly, the President's power to authorize mining in forest reserve has been voluntarily given out. And to me, that is very, very important. The reason this is important is because, you know, the original proposal was that the LI should be completely banned. It should be completely revoked. But what we've done here is that if you look, and this was the case that was made by the Environment Committee and the EPA, the whole EPA's power to enter forest reserve, to supervise, to monitor that all the concessions we've already given to large-scale mining are being followed, hinges on this LI 2462. So what is really the problem now is that we must stop all these new licenses in forest reserve, but allow the EPA to continue to have the right to enter the forest to make sure that the right things are being done there. If we repeal this whole act, it means the EPA completely will have that no power. And that is why we are stopping new licenses in forest reserve and making sure that the EPA will hold the fort with all these large-scale mining companies that have lease. And I believe that once the lease is done, I don't believe we want to even extend any lease going forward from the direction we are going.
Your sincere assessment as you enter into that office, because it's been overwhelming for most ministers who have been there, and they end up really being said to have achieved nothing.
Well, I think that
in respect of the galamsey fight.
Yes. I've been blessed to have held various positions. This is one of the very big ones in my lifetime. And I wake up in the morning and I say, you know, when you work hard with all your heart and soul and say, help me, God, you don't worry. I think I'm very confident. And I see the support of the people of Ghana. The people of Ghana are overwhelming in their support that we must address this canker that is destroying our water bodies and our environment, that is making us look like we are living for just today. And so I think that we are on course.
From your assessment, how bad is it?
5 pillars are the focus areas that we are looking at. Number one, we must basically completely reform the licensing regime. Look at all the areas in the licensing regime that has contributed to this mess. We must strengthen law enforcement. And this area requires political will and leadership. And I am very clear in my mind the support and the heart of President John Mahama. He has given me clear instructions that this fight, we must wave it with the people of Ghana, our forests, our water bodies, and our future. When the Water Resources Commission tells you that your water levels, treatment level of 500 is now between 5,000 and 12,000. And that no machine in Ghana is able to treat water. When they are shutting down, when the water company is shutting down water because you have crisis. When the Forestry Commission says that out of your 288 forests, 44 is completely destroyed, and that they have colors. 9 of the forests had red, yellow, and then blue. You know that this is a fight you must win. So that is critical. The other thing is engagement and education of the people of Ghana. If you have seen me in the last, that's the second part. Since I took office, my focus has been engaging the people of Ghana. I've been in parliament. I've been with traditional leaders. I've been with the media. I've been talking to the youth groups. Because this fight is not for the Minister of Lands or for the government. It's for the people of Ghana. It's for traditional authorities at all levels. For us to accept that there are things that will be no-go area. There are things we can do, but there are things we must collectively say, this we can do. Not our water, not our forest reserve. That gives us life.
That's the third pillar. You're left with two more.
Now we have alternative livelihood. If you see us focusing on things like Tree for Life initiative, and we've talked about a lot of programs we are going to do in that area. If you see us talking about all the other things, we're working with the other agencies. You see my collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture. It's all about alternative livelihood and things we can do to empower the youth. The other thing has to be a strong focus on reclamation and revegetation of all these damaged lands. So these are the focus areas of our fight. I talk about the reforms. You know, one of the things we've done immediately I took office was to make sure that we scan the system. You see me set up committees to look at the system. Because what we are talking about is also important. This mining sector is a very important sector. This is a sector that is the small-scale mining sector. It's what has given the government of Ghana over $4.5 billion. It's holding this economy. And so you need to understand that it's a very important sector. How do we sanitize it to make sure that people who are doing the right thing are giving the support?
So people are interested in knowing what differently you are going to do, because reforming licensing regime, strengthening law enforcement, engagement and education, alternative livelihood, strong focus on reclamation and revegetation, they are not new.
But there's a lot of difference. You know the difference? The difference this time is leadership. The difference this time is to tell the military. You know, the last time the military went to the forest reserve was 2022, according to the reports we have. At some point, they had to stop. This time, the police, when you hear the interior minister publicly saying to the police service that, listen, if you are caught as a police officer in any compromised position with this fight of illegal mining, the new IGP just announced that fighting galamsey is a priority. When you hear me, the minister, saying that if anybody, any political person who comes in our way of this fight will be named and shamed, and that nobody should try to call me. The only person I want to call me to give me instruction in this fight is the President of the Republic.
The President has also said that he will discipline members
so
of his government.
Clear alignment.
But we have heard before, a president even put their presidency on the line.
We are within 3 months, and I think that the people of Ghana are watching exactly the steps we are taking. And I think we are being consistent. When I saw the report, and it says, for the last 5 years, we arrested 845 galamseyers, but only 35 were prosecuted. I was like, yeah, this number. No, one of the engagement that has been done, for example, in this area, I've gone to the Chief Justice, I've gone to the Attorney General, and I've asked them, can you explore the possibility of fast-track courts, specifically for offenders of galamsey and small-scale mining? And they've been very receptive. I think we are pushing in all these directions.
They've already dedicated courts to deal with galamsey issues.
Well, in some of the areas that I see, I think that we need to strengthen it more, maybe spread it more. That's the point I'm making. And so I'm saying to you, I've shown you these 5 pillars. A lot is in there. You saw the announcement we've made about the review of licenses. We didn't do that by accident. It was done based on work by a committee that says that, listen, there's a lot of problems with authorization and validation of these licenses. There are people who even have small-scale mining licenses that, frankly, are violating environmental provisions. Their work programs that have been given them, they are not following.
Literally doing galamsey.
Basically, they are mining wrongly. We've given you B area, and you are mining in B, C, D. They have not even come back to renew their licenses. Foreigners are not supposed to be in small-scale mining. But guess what is happening? If you go to all of these people who have licenses, they bring all these foreigners, and I'm not going to specify nationalities, and say, oh, they are here because they are coming to fix our machines. No, they are not there to fix their machines. They are the one leading the fight. And so...
So the 55 licenses you have revoked.
Yes.
You are saying that it is because these license holders have breached various portions of the requirements.
Clearly, if you saw what we did, the time period, you know, the reason why there was a Transition Act was exactly this point. That when we have finished the election and we are just transitioning to a new government, when everybody is focused on handover notes and all of that, and we are saddled with a problem as big as galamsey, that is not the window where you jam more licenses on. And that is why you realize that in that short period, all those licenses that were given were rushed. Some of the processes were not completed. Due diligence were not done. Some of the authorization, somebody got a Mincom license. He doesn't have EPA license. There was a whole lot of problems. What we have said is that we are still going to be fair. And that's why we took our time. For all those people, they still can apply, and we'll give them the opportunity to go through the process. But we have to really do a complete review and make sure there are genuine people who are doing their work. They will come and vis-a-vis the groundwork, the field work, and we'll say, go ahead. There are people who will come and will say that we need to strengthen your environmental license. You have not renewed in the last 5 years. If we do not sanitize this system and we keep fighting, you will see that we are not going anywhere. So it must be comprehensive.
Are you sure this 55, some of it was not an ongoing process that you have truncated in the manner you have done, and you don't expect that you'll be saddled with some legal, battles?
Well, we are very clear now. I'm the minister that has the power to approve these licenses. And I also have the authority to revoke these licenses. And I'm doing that in the interest of the Republic. And I'm saying that people who feel that they need to come back to apply for these new licenses, they should do so. But the thousands of licenses, we did not, for example, want to truncate a small-scale mining that has employed people that is doing genuine work. That's why I say, even in the course of your work, let's review and audit your licenses. Let's audit and make sure that you are right on course. Probably those people will come and it will take 30
The people
minutes.
who process these licenses to eventual issuance, they are the same people at the helm.
This is the
at the Minerals Commission and elsewhere, correct?
The committee, and it's a one-stop shop, and this is the good news. This committee is going to be a one-stop. You are the minister of the EPA, the Minerals Commission, the Water Resource Commission, the ministry itself is being chaired by my able deputy minister. We have brought representatives from the Chamber of Mines, representatives from the small-scale mining organization as part of this committee to ensure fairness and to ensure transparency. This is not intended to penalize anybody, but it's intended as part of our efforts to sanitize, to make sure that we are all clear in our minds that the mess that is happening. For example, let me tell you, how come we will just sit in Elembele and one morning get somebody just show up with his license and say that I'm here to do prospecting, I have my prospecting license. What engagement did he do with the community there? This part of reform also involves what we are going to do, and it's part of the recommendation I have. The licensing regime must begin at the district level, and that's why we are saying that we are going to create district community licenses committees made up of the DISEC, which is really the key.
These don't already exist?
No, well, no.
No, I thought there was already a process at the local level where those who acquire licenses must engage before?
Well, they get the license here, and you're supposed to go to the DCE, who then has to now take you to the community.
Correct.
It doesn't happen. It never
so it exists, but it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. But I'm changing that. What we are talking is different from this. What we are saying is that those people in Accra headquarters do not have to do anything. Now, you have an application, take you to the district. That DISEC will be made up of rep from the MINCOM at the district level with the water resource and the EPA at the district level. And guess what? We are also not going to let you be jumping around. You get that authorization, and then all we are doing here, based on the due diligence that has been done there, the engagement, the traditional authorities are going to be part of that committee. They've agreed that this area you want to mine, we don't have any problem. Guess what? We are now going to hold the DC and his team there responsible if there's mess. At this point, it's not like that everybody's looking at crowd. It's not possible. So all these reforms are.
You don't think that approach rather opens the floodgates? So at the local level, people can get into all sorts.
I think you'll be listening to the president's announcement very soon. A DCE's KPI, one of the top ones, will be how best he handles and controls his territory when it comes to small galamsey.
Okay.
You will listen to the president.
Right.
So I think that these plans are things we're going to, but we are dealing with human beings. We are saying that we need everybody on board.
You have employed river guards.
Yes.
The question that is being asked is that these are people who are not armed, who, unlike the army or the police, they really can't do anything.
I saw a cartoon.
Is it job for the boys?
Not at all. So this river guard concept, and this is a very well thought out program. It is a program that is being shepherded by the Ghana Navy. The Ghana Navy is going to be helping. Their training is being undertaken by the Navy at some of their bases, and that's where the Ghana Navy's plan is to have 12 riverine bases across the county. One in Ashanti, Eastern, Western, North, and Western. The reason is because the Navy can spread themselves thin around all these river areas. The whole focus is to train these guys to be in a position to monitor and to collaborate with the Navy. They're supervisors.
So what are they going to be doing?
They will be the ears and the first responders.
Spies.
More or less. Of this, so that rapid response by the Navy in all these bases will take place.
They are not going to be involved in attempting to arrest or anything like that?
They don't have that power.
Okay.
In their training, we told them they are not soldiers, but they are more like security officers. They are first responders. And guess what? They are also being grown from where the river bodies are polluted.
The community.
And they come from the community. Every morning, they are dealing with all these young people who are engaging in the wrong thing. This psychological idea that our friends are protecting the river bodies and they have the capacity to make sure the Navy is here in 2 minutes when things happen, it's critical. These are all part of it.
Have you dealt with the possibility of compromise of these people as well? Because even if the army, the security, we are told, get compromised when they get to these places, how much more people that may not earn so much?
Now, everything you said is true. But what we are doing is better than just not trying them. I think that, my first post when I was launching, I said, we are launching this in the spirit of the young pioneer. The training involves conscientizing our young people that this is an opportunity of a lifetime to lead an effort that is more than yourself. In your community, you are going to be the guys. We still talk about the young pioneer, and do you know why? These guys had no arms. They were young people who were made to believe that their country and the calling to protect our river bodies. Yesterday, we launched the Tree for Life, and I listened to a poem by this young lady. I almost teared up, and when you finish listening, you will say that, this is what every young person growing up must understand. Okay. If our young people believe that what they are doing is so important,
so how many of these guards are you looking to deploy into the system?
We have said we are targeting 2,000. We are looking for support. We already have the budget for 1,000.
And you have how many so far?
400 plus.
400.
Yes.
And you're looking at 2,000.
Yes.
When do you intend to finish that, deployment?
The Navy has a plan, and they are working with us on it. Every training is about 1 month. So they will finish the first 1 month, we'll deploy them, then they will go to the second phase. But I think that it may end up to be one of the very important things.
And this trees project too, what is that about?
So, yesterday was the Global Day for the forest. And we are very happy that the president stopped everything he was doing to join us plant trees. Trees are everything. What the water we drink, the air we breathe, everything is about trees. 60% of our forest is already gone. 60%. I just told you that 44 of our forests, everything we are doing, and people, listen. Since
if you are planting forest and
let me say
allowing for licenses to be mined in the forest, then what's the purpose for it? The previous government was already doing.
But that's why we're taking
planting.
Let me say something important. So, the first report, I went to Parliament and I said, guys, we're in crisis. Can you believe that 44 of our forests is out of 288? It's already destroyed. 9 of them is in red, no-go areas. So I blew the alarm. Initially, I was getting this kickback. Why is the minister throwing his hand, telling us? I needed to tell you before we all join hands to fight it. We got the military to work with us. Today, we are proud to say that these 9 forests, 7 have moved from red to yellow. What that means is that it doesn't mean that these bad guys are not still making incursions. What it means is that the Forestry Commission armed people are now able to handle those without the military. That's what we are saying. We've moved them from red to yellow. But what it means is that we must constantly keep an eye because...
So you arrested the people who were doing the wrong in these areas?
That's correct.
They are being prosecuted?
They are being prosecuted, and I think that I have the assurance of the Attorney General that they are not keeping their eye on the ball. In fact, I'm probably not to say it here, but I think that we must get to the point where we are publicly deporting every foreign national who is caught in this, lining them out and deporting them.
About the LI 2462.
Yes.
Why are you choosing the approach to amend? In October 2024, you all joined organized labor and the Galamsey coalitions all over the place, anti-Galamsey coalitions all over the place, to call for the revocation of that process. And on the 10th of October 2024, there was this document under the hand of Godfred Dame, the Attorney General then. I read it to you. It's titled Environmental Protection Mining in Forest Reserve Revocation Instrument 2024. And it says that please find attached a copy of the Environmental Protection Mining in Forest Reserve Revocation Instrument 2024, which has been dated and signed by the Minister responsible for Environment. Kindly arrange for the instrument to be laid in Parliament in accordance with Clause 7 of Article 11 of the 1992 Constitution. And you supported this. So why, I mean, you, the NDC, supported this. Why this new, approach of amendment, which the people who called for the revocation say is not the way to go?
Our whole support was to stop licenses, new licenses. Listen, you've already given big mining companies leases in forest reserve. And you already know these big players. The world's #1 mining company is right in Ghana's forest reserve. I mean, think about it. They've invested billions of dollars. I mean, you are going to pass a law to all of a sudden overnight to say that all your investment, forget it. We are simply saying this, that when you look at the law, all the function, and I was the deputy minority leader at the time. We came to Parliament and it was clear to the EPA and the Environment Committee that And look at the day that this was brought. It was brought at a time where, frankly, and I'm trying not to go into that political, the government was basically at a point where their back was in the corner, they were in trouble, and they politically wanted to do something. But when they came to Parliament, it became very clear that this amendment must really protect the EPA's authority to still continue this very important work in this forest reserve. So what we are all talking about, and this is what we all agreed, is that there should be no new mining in forest, and that we should take the president's power to authorize leases in forest reserve. And says that's exactly what, and I think that unanimously that's what we all agreed. The reason that it's been laid is that everybody agrees that that's what the problem is. And that's what we are doing. So I don't think
we have heard from Abu Jinapo in the House, for example, suggests that this is not what to do. What to do is to
you should have asked me, are you saying that we should now prevent the EPA from entering for the day we take the EPA power, it means that they will not have the power to enter forest reserve to even do their important environmental supervision.
Let me bring Awula Sewa, who is coordinator of the Eco-Conscious Citizens. They are part of a number of groups that have actually brought a memorandum to the Subsidiary Legislation Committee of Parliament. They, together with Erocha Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, Nature and Development Foundation, the CASA Institute Ghana, the Braze, the Civic Response, and Trepon Boss Ghana. Awula, thank you very much for your time. Listening to the minister who is leading this charge, are you convinced that something different will happen? Where the president put his presidency on the line, and this is where we are. It got worse.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. I believe the minister means well, but then I have to say in very clear terms that we are greatly disappointed. When His Excellency, the President, was in opposition, he clearly said that he would revoke LI 2462. What the minister is telling us was known to the president at the time. He knew that certain companies had made investment, but he took into consideration the greater good of Ghanaians, our forest reserve being destroyed. And we all talked about water is life and the importance of forests that have been there for decades because our ancestors were not as wicked as we are to destroy the forest reserves. And he said he would revoke. And now we see something else happening, an amendment. This is reminiscent of somebody saying he'll put his presidency on the line, and then things go from bad to worse.
Tell us what difference it makes. The amendment and the revocation. What difference does it make? I've seen your memorandum, your 10-page memorandum speaking to that issue. But quickly help us appreciate that.
Very, very quickly, what a revocation means is that you take away the whole thing. You don't retain any part of it. As it stands right now, LI 2462 still allows mining in forest reserves. LI 2462 has removed some of the protections. Under the old law, at least in production forest reserves, you could not mine on more than 2%. So what we are doing right now with LI 2462, we've even taken away that protection, and you can mine almost unfettered access. So this is a very bad law, and it was able to be passed because there was no proper consultation. It was clandestinely done.
He's saying that it is this LI that gives the environmental officers the power to do the work they do to assist to prevent galamsey in the place. So if you do an entire revocation, you have taken the power away from them. That's what he's saying.
That is not the case. I believe we are being misled by whoever is advising the president. That is not the case. You have laws in force already. The duty of the Forestry Commission is to protect our forests.
They can't go to forest reserve.
They right to take all steps. The LI 2462 is not what gives protection to our forests. In fact, it was perversely named Protection of Forest Reserve. What it's really doing is destroying our forest reserves. The EPA have the mandate irrespective of LI 2462. So let's not deceive ourselves that by removing LI 2462, we've removed the power of the EPA. That is absolutely not the case. Absolutely not the case. What we are rather doing for most people is that it's slightly disingenuous. You have agreed to remove the whole law completely.
Let me come in.
You have passed a law that completely bans mining in forest reserve, but with full consultation and discussion. Organizations like AROCHA are excellent civil society organizations. They've been there for a very long time. They are very much into conservation. You cannot do something like that, excluding them from discussions. So let's be absolutely clear. The president had all the information when he said he will revoke. He knows the difference between revoking and amending. We want the whole law, which is perverse, to be done away with so that we no longer have a law that's allowing damage to our forest reserve. And let me add this. Yesterday, we're planting trees. Fantastic. What's the point of planting trees? That when your forest reserves, where the forests have been there for decades, you are happily supervising their destruction. What would be the point? We still have EI 144, which declassifies parts of Achimota Forest. That's the last remaining forest reserve in Accra. So it's like, one step forward and maybe 5 steps back. Let's do what we said we'll do so that you can restore confidence.
Right. The minister will respond to your concern quickly, but Minister, hold on for me. Dr. Arthur Kennedy, thank you very much for joining us also. What do you say? Listening to the minister, do you get the confidence that something different is going to happen? At least since they assumed office, they have deployed the military, they have gone into these places, they have seized hordes of excavators and champagne machines. Does it look like I have seen this before to you, or it means more than that?
Yeah, good morning, Samson, to you and to the minister and all those who are watching us. I am hopeful but skeptical, and I think Awula makes excellent points. It is interesting. The analogy I would use, since there was a fire in Kumasi yesterday, is that our house is on fire, and the minister is effectively saying, don't start new fires. But we already say that the level of burning is a crisis. It sounds like we should be quenching the fires. So respectfully to the minister, I think he and the president means well. But I think we should follow what Awula suggests, that maybe we should revoke the LI and then have Parliament properly go through hearings in which it will consult the necessary experts and then put in place a new regime. But whatever the new regime is, I think there must be substantial reduction in the illegal, because otherwise the destruction of the forest will proceed apace. I was going to ask the minister whether those who issued the revoked licenses, because the revocation suggests that there was something improper, would face accountability. That would be my first question. And I also think that maybe this requires a bipartisan approach. I'm sure he and the president means well, but my firm conviction is that this cannot be done effectively without a bipartisan approach, which is what maybe bringing in Parliament and bringing in the stakeholders will bring. So I want him to elaborate on how we're making this bipartisan so that with the approach of the next election, all of a sudden people won't panic and abandon all the nice ideas he's suggesting. And my third point would be, so if we are having this discussion in a year, what are the measurables that he will be expecting so he can declare success?
Great.
But I'm skeptical, and I think Awula makes excellent points.
Okay, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on briefly. I'll return to you. Yes.
Thank you very much. I think that they make very, very important point. But I still go back to the earlier point I made. The Forestry Commission, anybody who wants to enter that forest will need a forestry permit. This LI allows the EPA to enter this forest without the Forestry Commission's permits, to inspect, to do their work. So that in the discussion, the question came up, if you revoke this whole LI, what happens to the power of the EPA to enter this forest? Then they will be at the mercy of the Forestry Commission, who will now say, okay, well, we decide. So this discussion took place. But we realized that the most important point is that we can allow just imagine how many licenses were issued in forest reserves, even in the phase of when we were talking about the crisis. And so that, we said, listen, anytime you are passing a law, just remember that not everybody will come and his name will be a good lawyer who will be very diligent. Somebody will come and just, so make sure that we take this power completely. And the president says, please take my power away, my power to authorize mining in forest reserve. And then allow the EPA to do this work. I think that these points that have been made can be taken on board, but we need to do this first. This is critical. We need to do this first. I am sure if there has to be earlier discussions about packaging the EPA rule and bringing in a new law that says that this is not the EPA's power, and then maybe in that process, that's a discussion that can be had later. But immediately, this LI, the most critical point in it is to stop awarding, allowing anybody, authorizing anybody that they have the power to give anybody licenses in forest reserve. We must stop it. We have done some mistakes in the past. I'll put it this way. In hindsight, I mean, really, one of the reasons why, for the longest time, I never heard anything about mining in forest reserve until the big players entered there. And Ghanaians were like, so why are these people there? Then we too can go there.
But that law only came in 2022, November.
Well, I'm saying to you, no, this one.
The law you are seeking to amend or...
But that's what we are taking off.
Yes.
No,
that's the power that was given to the president on the basis of what the law called national interest, to allow people to enter the forest and mine.
How did we get the few mining companies to have concessions in forest reserve in the 90s? We did. That's the point I'm making. Okay. I'm talking about that. I'm saying that we opened that in the 90s to allow mining forests. So I think, and then we are seeing the consequence. That's why we are stopping it.
Right.
If there has to be a discussion on how we allow EPA to work, we can't stop their work right now because their work.
Okay, that's the point you have made. So hold on.
But the important, he also made some point that I was trying to. I think he asked whether those whose lines are revoked will face some penalty. I think that it will all be part of the review.
Right. But substantively, Dr. Kennedy is asking, how are we going to measure what you have achieved in time, all the things you're talking about? Hold on for me. So I will, once again, the question is, the campaign that you, civil society, and particularly these earth-conscious organizations, green-conscious organizations waged, it was to remove the power that had been given to the president in 2022 for people to be able to mine in forest reserve. This process is going to remove exactly that. It's going to do exactly that, remove that power. So what changed?
I think, you see, there have been a lot, with respect, there are lots of red herrings. And the discussions that were being had were part of the red herrings. Let's be very clear. Section 3.1 of the perverse LI 2462 allowed the president, by giving written consent, to permit mining in globally significant biodiversity areas. The whole of our forests are not globally significant biodiversity areas. So what has been done is to remove that power. But that doesn't mean that it's stopping mining in forest reserve. Let's be very clear. It's only removed the power of the president to allow mining in globally significant biodiversity area. The rest of the forest, you're giving virtually unfettered access for mining, and that is completely wrong.
I will humbly submit that with the repeal of this law, anybody...
You're not repealing it, you're amending the portion.
With the amendment of this LI, anybody who enters a forest reserve is an illegal miner. It must be dealt with.
Respect.
Who is giving them the authorization to enter any forest reserve? Who is giving them the authorization? No institution in Ghana, after the amendment, will have the power to do exactly that. No institution. But what we are saying is that if we repeal this whole 2462, it will be caught up and the environmental agencies that are doing the very important work that you cherish will now not have any power to enter any forest reserve, to do any environmental assessment.
Unless they have permission.
Permission from the Forestry Commission. Unless they have permission from the Forestry Commission. So let's have a post-amendment discussion on the way forward on this matter.
With the greatest respect, Honorable Minister, with the greatest respect, I believe you mean well, but I believe you are being misled. First of all, let's be absolutely clear. It's the mandate of the Forestry Commission to protect our forests. And it is absolutely not the case, that when you revoke LI 2462, then the EPA cannot go there. Let's be clear. I like the analogy that Dr. Kennedy gave. Our house is burning. We need to put out the fire. We need to ensure that this perverse piece of legislation goes, because all that you have done is to remove the part about globally significant biodiversity areas. The rest of the forest licenses can still be granted as we speak. So what we are saying is that revoke the law, revoke it, and then we can sit down with proper consultation, having the right people at the table to see how we can pass another law. But we need to stop mining in forest reserve. And I find it very interesting that we're talking about the investment that some companies, I think 4 billion, have made in mining in forest reserves. Compare that 4 billion to the health of Ghanaians. Compare that 4 billion to how much it's going to take to reclaim.
Newmont.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Now, Dr. Takennedy's questioning about in the next how many weeks, how many months, what are the targets you are setting? How are we going to hold you to account? How are you going to, as it were, how are we going to measure what you do?
I laid out the
5 pillars.
5 pillars. I think we should be assessed in these areas. How well are we working with law enforcement to make sure that we clear these illegal activities in forest reserve? How are we prosecuting them?
Number one is reforming license regime.
Yes. How is the licensing? For example, our focus is decentralizing and empowering local communities.
When is that going to be in effect? For now, you haven't done anything. All you have done is to seek to revoke licenses and to amend. Of course, that's an important step, to amend LI 2462.
So I am less than 60 days in office, and I am saying that we've done some work to the extent that we are able to now focus on, for example, the community mining schemes. It was clear that the communities, and we visited all these mining communities. Every community is saying that, they say this community mining, find one person in our community that was part of that community mining.
So when are you hoping to achieve what?
We are finishing this review, and then we are, as soon as the DCs are in place, we are sending a policy that will be approved by cabinet, and then this whole decentralized mining committees will be in place.
Yes, and the second leg, law enforcement.
The law enforcement is already.
When would you have cleared everyone who is involved in the illegality away?
I think that we are already on course. I'm very proud of the collaboration that the Minister of Defense and the Interior and the support we are getting, the collaboration with the Forestry Commission. I'm very proud of the support we are getting from the President and National Security. And I believe that we are determined. One of the things we are not doing, the only reason why we came to Parliament and gave it, because I was asked a question. And in Parliament, you have to go and disclose this. I think that we want to make sure we do the hard work.
Okay.
And let the people of Ghana make the judgment for them.
Right. The excavators you have been concerned about that you are arresting now with the chamfans and the things.
That's another big angle.
So far in total, about how many have you immobilized?
I think the number was around 55 or so.
Right.
But more importantly, let me say something about excavators. I put out a number there. 6.2 billion Ghana cedi worth of the value. That's the third highest in terms of value of things we imported. We need Already we are working with the MINCOM and Minerals Commission on the tracking of excavators.
The law is already there,
Yeah,
allowing for tracking, allowing for charging, and they've been charging for the tracking. But these excavators find themselves there, they are not charged, they are not tracked, they are not monitored.
We want to expand it. There are proposals on the table. I've had a first discussion with the Minister of Transport because we believe that other agencies must be part of this whole exercise, starting from the port, working with DVLA and others. And this discussion is early. But we need a comprehensive plan. So far, those we have arrested, we have all their...
Are you going to stop the importation of these excavators?
But we must make sure that any excavator imported in the country is tracked, has a purpose, and we know exactly where they are 24 hours a day. Those are things we have to do.
The second highest thing we import into this country?
Yes.
Excavators.
Yes. 6.2 billion.
In terms of the value?
That's correct. That's correct.
And your assessment is that a majority of that goes into galamsey work?
That's correct. That's correct. And so, as for champagne, they shouldn't even be here. What's the business of champagne?
The small boys and girls around
they can buy
those pits. So when you arrest them, are you not able to use these to get to the owners?
Well, for example, those that, you know, I remember it's a country, a democratic country. Those who have arrested are going through courts, the prosecution. Some of the items seized will be part of evidence. And so once all of this is done and the state is won the cases, obviously the intention is to put them in a very good use.
Right. The law says when you seize them,
yes,
you put them in the custody of the police nearest the place, and after the court process, you distribute to state institutions that won them. And then you publish in the National Gazette how you did the distribution so we can all track.
That's exactly what
so that the distribution doesn't go to certain people.
No, they won't fly. Yes, that's exactly what we will do.
Interesting. We wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
The Honorable
let me say my last word. People
yes.
of Ghana must all join hands. Yes, all of the things we are seeking, people have questions. But I think that we need the people of Ghana to give us a chance. Our intention is very clear. This is wrong. We must all fight it together.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Emmanuel Amakufibwa is the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, and he's taking the charge to do this. So there you have it. We'll take a quick break. When we return, Dr. Arthur Kennedy is still with us. We are going to have the next discussion.